I'm delighted today to be joined by Jeff Winter. Jeff Winter is the Industry Executive Manufacturing at Microsoft and an expert in Industry 4.0 and digital transformation. Thanks for taking the time to join us today, Jeff.
Oh, well, thanks for having me here. This is exciting.
Yeah, so I just wanted to share my screen and just show our readers about the report we recently featured you in. So this was a report that Analytica published recently called Who's Who in Industry 4.0, Influential Voices and Brands. And as you can see, we have you down here in the Industry Key Opinion Leaders section. Did you find out about this report via us? Did we tweet you about this? I think we may have shared a post and tagging you in it.
Actually, I learned about it from some of the other influencers that are posted in there and end up meeting some new people as a result of this report being published. So it kind of spread among the circle of people that were published in there, and I got to meet almost all of them as a result of it.
Oh, fantastic. Well, that's the first time we've heard that. Normally we tag people in it and then they come to the site, but you actually saw it first before we tagged you, so that's great.
So this is interesting. This is something I've been working on for years, is to define what subject matter expertise or being a thought leader really means. And I've tried to separate out a subject matter expert from a technical wizard, someone that really knows the technical side very strongly. And I kind of wanted to focus on the subject matter expertise or the thought leadership. And I actually got inspired by something I read by a guy named Jesse Torres, who posted 5 things about being a subject matter expert. It was having the right credentials. Do you have the right letters behind your name that says you know what you're talking about? Next, do you have the right accolades? Are you actually recognized by the industry as being good at what you're doing or knowing what you're doing? This very report is an example of one of those accolades that's being recognized in the industry. So credentials, accolades. Do you have the right network? Do you actually know the who's who in the industry? If you stump me, for example, I can go to particular chairmen of standards or leaders of organizations to be able to use those people as part of my subject matter expertise. Fourth is, are you an ambassador to the industry? Are you actually out there being a part of what the industry is doing? Most simply, that's usually joining societies or associations and being a part of the community. And last is being an influencer, which I really focus on, is having an opinion and sharing that opinion with people. You can't just be an ambassador and be out as a part of what's going on, but you actually have to be doing stuff with it. That really comes down to speaking, writing, and putting your thoughts and your opinions on what you're doing. So when you factor all those together, that's where I made a deliberate effort almost 3 years ago to become a subject matter expertise on Industry 4.0 and digital transformation. I used those 5 areas to help guide me in becoming one of those experts.
Fantastic. Wow, that's really interesting.
So that's another interesting question, because I would argue I've been a subject matter expert for years, and I've changed what my subject matter expertise has been on over my career, but my strategy has been relatively the same. It's only been in 2021 that I actually focused most on, I'm going to call it the influencing side. And I primarily did that through one tool, which is LinkedIn. Ever since I've been much more in the marketing arena and paid attention to how the pandemic changed the way that people network with each other, communicate with each other, and even learn from each other, I realized the main tool out there is LinkedIn. And that's the platform that you can use to network and meet people, to be an ambassador, to be an influencer, and to communicate all those ideas to the world. And so I made a concerted effort to be very active and promote my ideas, my thoughts, things I'm a part of, things I've learned through that tool.
Fantastic. Well, I can imagine that is quite time consuming. Some people don't realize how much time it takes to actually become an influencer or a subject matter expert on LinkedIn, and you must post a lot or take a lot of time to actually consider what you're posting as well. It's not just a case of it's just throw some posts out there and see what happens. I imagine there's quite a lot of thought goes into it.
I would agree, but I would change a little bit. The actual time is really in becoming the thought leader or the expert, joining societies, associations, rolling up your sleeves and actually getting involved in the creation of stuff. LinkedIn, I view it as the tool that just promotes and communicates that to the world. So I actually don't spend a lot of time on the LinkedIn side. What I spend a lot of time on is the actual subject matter expertise and the thought leadership. Like speaking at an event takes a lot of time. Posting about the event only takes a short amount of time. So this is an interesting question. I'm sure there's lots of different opinions when it comes to this one. And because the whole idea of Industry 4.0 and digital transformation are still kind of being defined by the industry, there's a lot of different answers that you can have there. Now, coming from the background that I personally have, the biggest thing that I've seen to be innovative, exciting, and kind of the big future of the areas that I'm going to be participating in is around the collection of data. And this is everything from different IoT sensors that you may be using. So the collection of new data, and that includes the companies that make the sensors, as well as the use and placement and data that you're actually collecting, then migrating that into a system, or just the general term of big data, to collect everything that you have and analyze that to be able to make improvements to your organization. And all three of those, the collecting, the putting together, and then the analyzing of, is where I see the biggest innovation. And when it comes to the analyzing and the taking action on it, is where I personally think the most exciting topics of like artificial intelligence and machine learning come into play, where companies are completely transforming what they're doing as a result of the data that they're now collecting. So COVID, I would argue, really accelerated a lot of what companies are doing with digital transformation. It's on everyone's radar. I would argue there aren't any people that aren't at least considering digital transformation. Some of them are pretty far along their journey. But what COVID did is it forced people to have to address things that they haven't really been forced to address before. And the biggest one that I have seen is around the ability to interact with your company, with all the people in the company, as well as all the assets in the company digitally. Because you have to think, before, I'm going to call it COVID, people that had manufacturing facilities were able just to go in the facility and do what they needed inside the facility. Once everyone started having to work from home, they needed to find new ways to communicate with each other, as well as to be able to understand what's going on within their facilities and take advantage of that remotely. And that's kind of what I think was one of the big accelerators to push for this digital transformation. And we've seen it over and over again for how companies are choosing to address that. And when they address it, then they need to address all the cyber concerns and the privacy concerns. And it all kind of comes together to going, wow, we need to really have a digital transformation strategy. So I'd argue it was pushed by COVID, but it was something that now people are just taking advantage of anyways, because they see the benefits in what they're getting out of it.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. It's forced our hands, but now that we've been pushed down this curve, it's you can see the benefits. I mean, just us talking now on Teams. I remember Teams when it first came out, and now looking at Teams and all the extra features and all the things you can do with Teams, it's incredible how far along it's gone. And yeah, I'm sure that if it wasn't due to COVID, then not as much work would have been put into that.
Well, I would hope, based off what I said earlier, it would absolutely be LinkedIn. That is the area that I'm most prominent on, and the easiest way to reach me, connect with me, or get a glimpse into what I'm doing.
Fantastic. Well, I look forward to seeing more of your posts on LinkedIn. Thanks a lot for taking the time to join us.
Thank you.
Cheers, Jeff. Bye.
Bye.